So I'm Javed Thomas, and along with the wonderful Raj Shilsiani, co-founders of Race Equality Matters. So today's agenda, it's action-packed, but the 5-day challenge is there's going to be a few interactive polls. We're going to walk through every day of the 5-day challenge and kind of do a live run through for it if I can keep to time. There's going to be one collaborative discussion group where we're going to pick on one of the subject matters for you to talk about yourselves to experience how you could use it in your organizations. And they're for the first time, we're going to reveal the theme for Race Equality Week. Okay, the strapline, the theme for Race Equality Week. And I know a number of you have contributed to that. We keep asking the community how to make it right. So we're quite excited about that. So why race equality matters? So a quick overview for those that are new here today and a reminder for others. Race equality matters is all about being solutions focused. And you tell us to tackle the issues that matter the most, and that's what we do. And we do this by making sure it's everyone business, not down to ethnically diverse colleagues in the organization, not down to the race network lead, and not down to D&I HR. And we do this by filling in the gaps and do what others are not doing. So we don't tackle anti-racist training because others are doing that, but we create new solutions that are co-created with the community, such as My Name is Tea Break and It's Not Micro. And we do this because we're driven by data and community research. So we know what's working, we know what's not working, and we know what your needs are. And as a result, we've got more than 8,000 organizations engaged and also 24,647 change makers who help us co-create the solutions by telling us what the issues are, being involved at the beginning, testing it, and we can see a number of you today. And we provide you with guides, workshops, how to do it right. So one of them is the 5-day challenge, which is 5 challenges that take 5 minutes over 5 days. And as I said, later we're going to announce the theme for Race Equality Week. That's right towards the end. So this is the previous events. As I said, we're going to be going through each of the days. So we've got Stereotyping is day 1, the Bystander Effect day 2, how communication styles lead to misunderstanding will be day 3, the Allyship gap, you're being an ally versus an active ally, and the big promise. So we'll be going through all these and you'll see all the content that you'll get in the packs. As I said, a lot of stuff, including today's event, we can do for free because of key partners, Green Park and Lloyd's of London, who power Race Equality Week, and also other partners, BT, HS2, Auto Trader, Direct Line Group, Network Rail, Edelman, CMS, who sponsor our Race and series, and Amy. We can't keep doing everything for free. So anyway, if your organizations want some PR or some marketing opportunities, etc., please do let us know. So if we do a State of the Nation poll, so if we can just quickly do this, all anonymized, there's about 9 questions, and it lets us know maybe what you experienced of a 5-day challenge and how your organization is doing. Thank you. Results with yourselves after the event as well, so you can get to see how we're doing. That's great. Thank you all for being part of our State of the Nation. So today we have 58% are allies and then 41% ethnically diverse or appropriate equivalent. So a good mix for that. Question 2. What role do people play in their organisation? So 22%, so 1 in 5 of your senior leaders, roughly similar HR. 29% D&I professionals. 15% race network members and 12% race network leads, and then we've got a quarter who are other roles. So a lovely, wonderful, rich mix here. Question 3, how is your organisation addressing race inequality? So if we go towards the bottom, 35% focus on action, not just words. It's only 35%, so 1 in 3 organisations focus on action, not just words. So that's leaving 2 and 3 not doing enough action. And as you can see, 55% say talks and does a little bit of action. And then 8% just talks, does very little, does nothing. Question 4. Do you find it easy to access good resources to learn about tackling race inequalities? So interesting here, 53% say yes from outside your organisation. so half of you, and 36%, yes, they're made available by my organization. So I guess only 1 in 3 is coming from within the organization. 14% say no, and then 7% not sure. Question 5. Is time an issue for colleagues to learn about the challenges experienced by ethnically diverse colleagues? 72% saying yes, time is an issue to learn about the experiences of ethnically diverse colleagues. 13% saying no, and then 14% saying not sure. So only 13%, if you think about it, saying no, time is not an issue. So it shows a huge gap. And that's why the 5-day challenge was created. 5 challenges that take 5 minutes over 5 days. Question 6, excluding the 5-day challenge, do you have ready to go bite-sized resources that colleagues can access to learn about these challenges, again, to tackle the limited time issue? So only 34% saying yes, 55% saying no, and then 11% saying not sure. But it's only 34% have ready to go bite-sized resources. Question 7. Have you done the 5-day challenge before? Yes. Half of you, brilliant. So welcome back, all of you. And then 24% saying no, but you've heard of it. And then there's 25% here today that has never, ever heard of it. So it's fantastic to have you all here today. And hopefully at the end of today's session, you'll all be running to gain or doing it for the first time. And final question, question 8. Have you taken part in the Big Promise before? I'm going to explain more about that later. So yes, 33%. 33% say no, but you've heard of it, and then 31% never heard of it. And that's fair enough. So thank you for doing that. And on to the next part. Okay, that's fine. Next slide, please, Eleanor. Okay, so last year or this year in Race Equality Week, 1,500 plus organizations took part in the 5-day challenge. And as it, obviously, at least half of you here did it. And 87% of those experienced the 5-day challenge said it will help tackle race inequality in their organizations. It will help tackle other issues and matters as well. In 2025, we do ask, should we create another one, or is that enough? And so 79% said no, they want more. And then we go to the community asking what are the topics and themes we should have. As someone said, it keeps race inequality at the front of people's minds, but in a non-threatening and non-judgmental way. It calls people in rather than call people out. I think it's a brilliant quote. So thank you for sharing that. So one of the questions we ask is, to create change or to make a difference and impact, we need awareness of matters and issues, we need knowledge, and we need behavior change. So many organizations tend to invest in one or two of these elements. So however, to create impact and change, we need to focus on all 3 continuously. So the 5-day challenge was created to help organizations achieve that. So that bit on the left is a bit of science. And again, it's all in the guide, so you can find more information about it. Okay. So we'll just do a quick poll relating to that. And there's a couple of questions. So this question is, which of these issues are being addressed in your organization? And these are the key themes that have come up from the community, which is in this year's 5-day challenge. So which of these issues are being addressed in your organization? So stereotyping, only 30%. Communication styles and misunderstandings, 43%. The bystander effects interventions, 34%. And the difference between being an ally versus an active ally, 37%. So if you could argue, the majority aren't addressing these issues, and in a number of the cases, it's like 2 in 3 organizations not. So hence, I guess that's why, or it validates why the community says we need to address these 4 key issues kind of going forward. Question 2. When tackling race inequality, which of the following does your organization put a focus on? So 58% raising awareness of issues, 26%, so 1 in 4, understanding of the causes and consequences of inequalities. So only 1 in 4 put a focus on understanding the causes and consequences of inequalities. So we don't see or feel what others may be feeling, but they do. And until we understand the causes and consequences, the change won't happen. 46% say your organizations put a focus on enabling inclusive behavior, so still less than the majority. And the good news is 24% all of the above. Okay, so 1 in 4 are doing all the above, but then the others, there's huge gaps still that we can look to address, and hopefully this year's 5-day challenge will enable that to happen. So thank you again for sharing. So how does the 5-day challenge work this year? Thanks to feedback from the community, it will be slightly different from previous years, but we're here to meet your needs and requests. So what you can see, you'll find these instructions at the beginning of each daily challenge. We recognise that some people have very little time, while others are always eager to learn more. For this reason, this year, each daily theme contains 3 parts. The first part is the 5-day challenge as you've previously known it. That's the essential part you want your employees to read. It typically takes 5 to 7 minutes to complete, and it includes an eye-opener, a video, a bit of science light, and practical actions everyone can take, as we've done in previous years. The second and third parts are optional. Because many of you said you want to know more or learn more, part 2 contains bonus content offering deeper insights, real-world examples, and reflection points. This part takes an additional 2 to 5 minutes depending on the subject matter. And then we have part 3, which is full of additional resources which might be especially relevant for organisations that want to focus more on this daily topic, or individuals when they may do a deeper dive. All 3 parts come in the daily PDFs that will be available for the 5-day challenge. And that's what I'm now going to go through. Day 1, firstly, which is stereotyping. So do we make assumptions about others before we even know them? So we may see someone. Do we make assumptions about a person before we even get to know them? So we do the first eye opener. So just think in your head or write on a piece of paper. You don't have to share this. You're very welcome to. But so if you're visiting a new place and got lost, new city, new town, new country, who would you feel comfortable approaching for help with direction? So which of these would you be comfortable to approach? An Asian man, a man with tattoos and piercing on his face, a Muslim woman wearing a hijab, a black man in a wheelchair, a white policeman, a black teenager, a woman begging for money seated in a blanket with a child, an Asian policewoman. So how many of them would you tick? So have a think, what made you choose the answers you did, and were there any you didn't do? And if not, why not? Okay, thank you. So what we're going to do is show a video to help bring this to life. It's in Italian, and it just to, before we play it, just to say for some it can be a bit upsetting, and it's in Italian, but just go with the flow, and please look after yourselves through this one. Thank you. The doll test is a psychological experiment designed in the 40s in the USA to test the degree of marginalization felt by African American children caused by prejudice and discrimination. This has been recreated with Italian children.
Quale bambola è bianca? Quale bambola è nera? Quale delle due è bella?
Questa.
Qual è quella bella? Qual è quella brutta? E qual è quella buona? Quale è cattiva? Qual è buona?
Lei.
Perché è buona?
Perché ha gli occhi celesti.
Quale è cattiva? Perché è cattiva?
Perché è tutto nero.
E qual è la bambola che ti somiglia di più? Quale bambola è nera?
Mi ha offeso.
Chi?
Tu.
Perché?
Perché mi hai chiamato nera.
Perché ti offendo?
Mi offendi perché altri bambini mi hanno offeso con cattiveria.
No, io non ho usato nessuna cattiveria.
Quello mi sta guardando storto.
I've seen it many times, but very moving video. And I said that is in the pack. But I think these kids so young already being influenced just by visualization. So when people say I don't see color, I think you got to think about look at that. Okay. So then we have what we call a science light. So we explain a bit more about this and what's going on in our minds. So choices like this are often informed by stereotypes. So stereotypes are ideas we share about certain groups of people, which make generalizations about some of their characteristics, the white doll, the black doll. But we typically see someone and within seconds, like them kids are doing, we make an assumption about who they are. Stereotyping is when we make assumptions about people based on how they look, act, or speak, instead of getting to know them for who they really, really are. We all stereotype others, and we may all experience being stereotyped ourselves. However, those who are seen as different experience it far more frequently, often negatively, that affects their opportunities, choices, and their well-being. So according to data gathered by Race Equality Matters, ethnically diverse employees are 8.5 times more likely, 8.5 times more likely to feel stereotyped at work because of their race and ethnicity than white employees. And it'll get even bigger if you then put in intersectionality, if you're a woman, disabled, etc. Stereotypes guide our thinking and decision making, for example, on whether someone can be trusted or if they will be a good fit in our organization. Black people are often stereotyped as aggressive or intimidating, which can lead to reduced mentorship and a lack of trust from colleagues or supervisors. So why do we stereotype people? So imagine walking into a very messy room. So just a bit of thing. I know a lot of people are thinking that's not messy, but imagine walking into a messy room like a child's bedroom with toys of all kinds scattered everywhere. To move around more quickly and easily, what we do, we begin to tidying up, sorting things into boxes based on certain features there. The toy car box, the dolls box, the Lego box, the fancy dress box. This is similar to how our minds work when trying to make sense of the world around us. We sort things into mental fixed boxes to help us process and understand information quickly. Something like with 4 legs that barks, we're going to think a dog. Something with green leaves and a brown trunk is likely to be true. We go into that box where it's stored. We do the same with people, grouping them into categories based on traits we perceive as different from our own, such as skin color, you're black and white, gender, men or women, age, young or old, or body size, slim or overweight. So straight away, we put them in a box. We give these groups labels so we can quickly assume what someone is like and what to expect from them. Those assumptions are called stereotypes, and they aren't always right. So let's have a look at this gentleman here. So if you see him, the typical stereotypes and assumptions are he's aggressive, can't be trusted, drug dealer, thief, misfit, lacks intelligence. That's what a lot of people stereotype. Now, this has an impact on him and can cause serious harm. It causes depression, anxiety, isolation. He masks. You see a video where a guy goes, I talk slow and calm with a slow, deep voice, not to intimidate. They look overlooked in job opportunities and it impacts on their well-being and reduced performance. So do we think we know him when we see him, when he walks into the room? He's actually Amadou. He's a university professor and he's a caring father of 2 children. He was born in London as a PhD. He's never used drugs, never been violent, and never traveled to any African country. But many won't think of that when you look at him. Who thought about any of that when we saw him? So now let's meet this lady. So submissive, not fit for leadership, terrorist, oppressed, can't speak English, won't fit into our organization. And again, it affects her self-esteem, anxiety, shame, imposter syndrome, feeling out of place, pressure to meet expectations, and overlooked in promotions and opportunities. Again, what do we think when we see her? So this is Fatima. She's a lawyer with a brilliant career working for the Crown. She's not married. She doesn't have children, and she's an advocate for equality. She loves art and traveling around the world. But even with all she's achieved, she doesn't feel safe in public space, and it's worse at the moment because of all the assumptions people make about seeing her as a Muslim woman. So when we place people into boxes, we risk judging them based on assumptions rather than who they really are. And we stop seeing them as full, complex, amazing human beings. Even when stereotypes sound like compliments, like black people are good dancers or women are gentle and caring, they can still hurt. Not all black people are good dancers, and women should be expected to be the gentle, caring parent all the time. People can feel forced into a box they didn't choose, or like no one sees who they truly are as individuals, but only the label that we attach to them. No one is born believing in harmful stereotypes. They are learned over time. The good news is they can be unlearned. So that's as we get to the end of day one. So what's the one thing we learned from today's challenge? What might we do differently from now on? And I said, we're all about action focus. So what we're now going to share is a few actions you or colleagues can take to tackle this. So the first one is learn to recognize and avoid stereotypes. So avoid generalizations, implying that all people from a certain group are the same. For example, women are emotional, Asians are good at maths. Chat amongst colleagues. Which stereotypes do you see or hear often? Which ones do you experience? Next time you're watching TV or a movie, and this is an interesting one to do, pay attention to whether any character is shown in a stereotypical way. See people who they are, not just the group they belong to. Take time to get to know colleagues, individuals, listen to their stories with empathy and challenge your perceptions. Call out stereotypes and microaggressions when you see them. So speak up when you hear biased remarks, even if they're meant just a joke. For the recipient they hurt, they are not jokes. So congratulations, we've reached the end of day one challenge. So that's what day one would be. And then the next one will come out the next day for yourselves. As we said, there's additional content. So you've learned that. Now you want to learn a bit more. So there's a bit more resources in the bonus content, which I think takes about 3 to 5 minutes if you want to read through that. Again, this came from the community and all this stuff. It's so good. We just don't want to throw it away. We want to share it with you, but we do not overwhelm you in part one. And then there's another bit, which is additional resources, which is much deeper. And we've got time in there. Some things take 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 2.5 minutes, etc. Again, maybe race network leads or D&I leads. These are additional resources you could do because a lot of organizations may want to run a session or activity around this. So thank you for that. So now we're on to day two, the bystander effect. Have you ever witnessed a colleague being treated unfairly and noticed that no one stepped in? So let's do the eye opener. So picture this situation. Eberici, a new employee of Nigerian heritage, has recently joined the organization. During a team meeting, he introduced himself to his colleagues. And while he speaks, one team member interrupts him saying, I find foreign names difficult to pronounce. I'm going to call you Ebe from now on. So the room falls quiet and everyone looks around, unsure how to react. Some team members feel uncomfortable, but no one says anything. They assume someone else will speak up and Eberici will address it himself. He pauses for a moment, but clearly unsettled, but he continues with introduction without making any comments. He doesn't want to disrupt anything or cause problem or make waves. So the meeting moves on as if nothing happened. So the eye opener is think about these reactions that you could do, or what would you typically do? Nothing, because it's none of your business. You're aware you should do something, but I wouldn't know how to handle a situation. I'm aware I should do something, but I would be afraid of my peers' judgment. I'd step in, but only if someone else stepped in before me. I would step in right away, even if no one else did, and I try to call out the microaggression. I would go and comfort Eberici after the meeting to see how he felt about the situation. I would go and speak to the team member in private, explaining that they should not say certain things and why. So how do you feel when reading this above? What made you choose the answer you chose? So what we're going to do is show a video just to explain the bystander effect.
I'm not 100% sure why I'm being asked to share this story, but I'm guessing it's because somebody needs to hear it. When I was 16, I went into what I thought was going to be a normal day at biology class. And when I walked in, all the desks were arranged in a circle in the middle of the room. And the instructor, who had always been a really amazing, loving, kind instructor, was super militant, super scary, and just looked at us and said, "Sit down, shut up. You are not allowed to move, to speak at all, and anyone who does will immediately fail my class." And we were all stunned. I get like, just thinking about it, because I was a straight A student and grades were really important to me, and I was just like terrified. So we're all sitting there silently, nervous out of our minds. And in the middle of this circle that we were all sitting in, there was one desk. And on this desk was a bowl with a goldfish in it. And he looked at us and he took the goldfish and he put it on the desk and he walked out and he shut the door. And we all just looked at each other. We're just like, what do we do? You know, like, obviously it violated like everything inside of me to like watch this fish die. And also, I heard the instruction: if you speak, if you get up, if you move, you will automatically fail the class. And so we all sat there looking to each other to do something because we didn't want it to be us. And what was a very painful, it felt like an eternity. It was probably like 2.5 minutes later. Hannah B, got up and said, and took the goldfish and put it back in the bowl. And when she did that, he came out and he looked at all of us and he said, "Look what the world has done to you. You've betrayed yourself. For what?" And I think about that lesson all the time because I learned in that moment that I am never going to be that person ever again. That when I see something that is wrong, even if it's just me, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to do what's right. And I've done that over and over again in my life in very scary situations. But I'm sad for people who haven't learned that lesson, because there are so many things that are wrong that if you're too scared to make a difference, you won't make right.
Thank you. So why do you think it's so hard for people to step in when they see others in need of support? The reason is the bystander effect. So what is the bystander effect? This is a common human reaction that happens, as we saw in that video, without us realizing it. When we witness a person in a challenging situation or in need of help, for example, being discriminated, harassed, or in distress, we're less likely to step in if there are others around who are also seeing what is happening. In fact, the more people there are, the less likely it is that anyone will take action. So have a look at this image. So if you look on the bottom right, you can see someone struggling. And this is what goes through other people's minds, which causes the bystander effect. Okay, thank you. So why does this happen? There are many reasons. So firstly, we think someone will step in. Science is diffusion of responsibility. So we're less likely to help if we feel that the responsibility doesn't fall on us solely. For example, there are other people around who could help instead. What if I become a target of disapproval? The evaluation apprehension. We get anxious to help. So anxious, we actually freeze, we overthink. Is my assistance welcomed? What if I do something wrong and make the situation work? If I do this, what will others think? What if I say, what if something I say or do draws uncomfortable tension on me? We freeze. Is my help needed at all? Which is ambiguity and uncertainty. So when a situation is ambiguous and is unclear, whether someone actually needs our help, we unconsciously rely on others' judgment. We look around and behavior, decide whether that situation requires our intervention, like the goldfish. So if no one else steps forward, why should I? What if they don't want my help and I'm insulting them by trying to help? And what should I do? Okay, there's a problem here. I don't know how to help. Even if we really want to step in, sometimes we don't feel equipped or confident to intervene in a safe and effective way. So which of these four can you relate to? So the bystander effect and race inequality. So bystanders often do not step in when microaggressions happen, as we saw for the Eberici example. So according to data from Race Equality Matters and the Collaboratory, 83% of ethnically diverse colleagues said that microaggressions often remain unchallenged in their organisation. We also know 89% of people want to challenge microaggressions. There's a gap there. So when someone is put down or disrespected and no one says anything, it's often because others aren't feeling the sting. But the silence doesn't take away the hurt of the person living it. As Desmond Tutu says, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, we've actually chosen the side of the oppressor. So this is all about becoming an upstander. This is a step-by-step model of bystander intervention. So firstly, witness the event. You see an event that's happened. Then notice what is actually happening. Interpret the situation as needing help. Then accept the responsibility. You are going to be an upstander. You're going to step in. Know how you help in this situation. And then help. So how do you help? So this is from the 5D model, or an element of it, which many of you may know. And again, that's additional resources. So firstly, you can distract, shift attention, or diffuse the situation. Or be direct, just step in, check in with the person affected. Or delay and delegate. So if you don't think it's right, you can wait to intervene when it's safe or appropriate, and or seek assistance from others. Okay, so there's more information in the guides on this. So thank you, Eleanor. Not everyone feels safe or comfortable speaking up, especially if they are from ethnically diverse backgrounds or in a minority, or do not speak English fluently, or maybe more junior. If you don't feel you have a voice, you can report the harmful behavior privately to a manager, HR, or through anonymous reporting options your workplace may offer. The important thing is we do something. Say nothing can let and it endorses the behavior. So what have we learned today from today's challenge? What might you do differently from now on? And so here are some actions to help you. So play your part in making race equality everyone's business organization. When you see something, step in. Listen to how your body feels. If you feel something's not right, it probably isn't. And that's your cue to step in. Gain confidence by practicing how to become an upstander. Talk amongst yourselves. Unite on this. Have a go at practicing what you do in a similar situation to the one in the eye opener. On your own, write it down on a piece of paper, what you might say, or read it out loud, or try it with a friend or family member. With others, team up with colleagues to role play and try out different ways to fit in. Because at the moment, it's not a natural reflex or a natural muscle in our bodies, but it will become one day. So again, congratulations. We've reached the end of this challenge. And then, as we said earlier, there's bonus content if you want to find it. And then there's also more in-depth stuff, and there's more videos as well, just showing different bystander effects. One shows someone just lying on the floor and people walking past them, but it's real life. Okay, so that's 2 days done. So what we're going to do is give you a chance to talk amongst yourselves, a collaborative discussion. So you're going to go into a breakout group in a minute. Don't spend time introducing yourselves, because that will take up the time. We've got about 7 minutes for this. But what we want you to do is talk amongst yourselves. What can you do to become more of an upstander in the future? So what do we individually do differently? And again, yeah, please do talk amongst yourselves. We appreciate some people don't want to talk. Very happy for you to listen. You'll go into the rooms again, maybe amongst yourselves. It's nice to have your cameras on, but again, some people may be more comfortable with the cameras off. If one person can just sort of slightly manage it to make sure everyone's got a chance to have a say if they want to speak, we'll give you a 1 minute warning when it's happening. Go into the room. The more they go in the room, the more we listen and learn. So please don't stay on this side. Nothing's going to happen. You're going to be in 7 minutes of silence. We do encourage you to go into their rooms, and it's a safe space. It's not being videoed. Okay. So see you soon. Thank you. Okay, that's great. Thank you all for sharing that really interesting group on that side. And as someone says, it does set the tone and the culture for an organization. As someone said, now, if you're new to an organization and you saw behavior, if nothing happens, it's accepting it. That's normal for this organization. Is that the cultures we want? But actually, if they say it's very normal to question, challenge, to bring people in, etc., then actually that's showing a very different culture. So thank you all for sharing that. So if we go now on to day 3. Okay, so day 3 is about how communication styles lead to misunderstandings. So why do people respond so differently to the same words? So we'll do the first eye opener. So after a job interview, your recruiter politely tells you, it was a real pleasure to meet you. We thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, how you brought all your relevant experience to life. We've already seen a number of candidates, so we'll definitely be giving you a ring shortly. So when they say that, what do you think? What do they mean? Do you think the interview went well and they will let you know soon you got the position? They will take their time before letting you know? Or they will be in touch soon to tell you that you didn't get a job? So have a think. When you hear that after an interview or a meeting, what do you think that the outcome is going to be? So when you made a decision, so how do you know that? What makes you think that? Next slide, please. So have you ever experienced something similar? So perhaps you thought you would get the job, but you didn't. Or sometimes you thought you wouldn't get the job, but you did. What causes that ambiguity? Sometimes people mean exactly what they say, but other times they say one thing and they mean something else. Most of the time, we don't really know what they mean. We just assume we do. So we're going to show a video to help bring this to life.
What assumptions do we make when we speak to others?
When you openly told me my idea wouldn't work, you genuinely assumed I would appreciate your honesty. But it felt like all the effort I had put in didn't matter. It made me feel invisible and powerless. I began to doubt myself and my abilities.
When you said it was fine, but looked worried, you assumed I'd understand straight away what the problem was, but I didn't. I felt lost and confused. It made me doubt what you really think of my work.
Sometimes, what we say can hurt or confuse others, even if we don't mean it.
If you had given me your honest feedback in a less blunt way, I wouldn't have felt like I had to define my work. I would have appreciated your honesty. I would have felt respected, not attacked.
If you had directly shared your concerns with me, instead of assuming I would know what the problem was, I would have appreciated your honesty. I wouldn't feel attacked. I would have felt respected.
Different people use different communication styles. Some are more direct, others more indirect. People from different cultures also use different communication styles.
When you told me that I should speak more softly and watch my tone, you assumed I was being unprofessional, but you don't know anything about my culture. It felt like being myself wasn't just unwelcome, it was unacceptable.
People use different tones of voice, gestures, expressions, body language.
If you had known that in my culture, speaking loudly is a sign of positivity. Instead of assuming I was being unprofessional, you wouldn't have made that comment, and I would have felt welcomed and accepted. I would have felt safe to be my true self.
Misunderstandings happen when we forget everyone is different. Don't assume. Ask, learn, adjust.
Okay. Okay, what I'll say is we spent 2, 3 weeks trying to find a video for that, but we had to make our own in the end because we couldn't find one that really got the message across. So big, well done to Ellen and the team who pulled that together. So thank you, Eleanor. So why does how we communicate matter? Communication is a key part of everyday life. However, sometimes it can feel like we're speaking different languages, even though we're all using English. That's because people from different backgrounds don't always say or understand the things in the same way. For example, in the UK, when people say how interesting, they might actually be politely saying they're bored or not interested. But someone unfamiliar might think they're generally fascinated. So when a misunderstanding happens, people might feel confused, frustrated, or even angry. If it keeps happening, it can lead us to feel isolated, excluded, or like we don't belong. So how does communication work? So the sender formulates communication and says something, or can be writing something, and that's the message. So that's the message from the sender. The recipient then interprets it accordingly, and then they respond for how they interpret it, and then a response gets there. So sometimes it's all joined up, sometimes it's misunderstanding and miscommunication. So how does communication work? People do use different communication styles, which mean they send and receive messages in different ways. This is where misunderstandings happen. For example, some of us prefer to give and receive direct feedback, where others can find it rude, offensive, or unsupportive. Some of us prefer to communicate a more indirect and less confrontational way, e.g., avoiding direct feedback, which others can find unclear, annoying, tiring, and confusing. So here's some examples of how it works. This is a direct speaker, but a direct receiver. So the speaker says, to be honest, I don't think your idea will work. Now the direct receiver says, no problem. Thank you for honest feedback. I'll think about doing something different. Now, if it's a direct speaker to an indirect speaker, a receiver, sorry, same thing. To be honest, I don't think your idea will work. The indirect receiver says, after all my hard work, this is the recognition I get, not even a hint of appreciation. Now, an indirect speaker to an indirect receiver, I think we should park this for now. So the indirect receiver is thinking, I guess we will never talk about this again. But an indirect speaker to a direct receiver, I think we should park this idea for now. So the direct receiver thinks, okay, they're being direct to me, think they're being direct. Okay, great. Let me know when we're going to discuss this. So the same phrase has been said, and we interpret the outcome differently. So people generally use the same communication style for how they speak and receive messages. For example, direct speakers are generally also direct receivers. So based on your own communication style, who do you think might you have problems with when communicating? Or we all have problems with communicating with some people. Think about, do we have different styles? So are you a direct to indirect speaker? And who are the people you might have challenges with? So we may not mean to upset anyone, but sometimes the way we say things can still hurt. And sometimes we feel others are attacking us when in fact they had good intentions. There is no wrong communication style. The key is learning how to communicate with and understand different people. So most miscommunication, isn't about language. It's about assumptions. We assume we're being clear. We assume others interpret things like we do. That's where confusion, offense, and disengagement creep, as in Mamoba, Agora, or Gore Media shared. So how easy is it for people to miscommunicate or misunderstand each other? There are several reasons why people use different communication styles. And it's important that we're aware of this, as well as the direct and indirect. So sometimes it's our cultural and ethnic backgrounds. Sometimes it's our upbringing and our life experiences. Sometimes it's personality type. And sometimes it's neurodiversity. So non-verbal communication, like eye contact, tone of voice, gestures, body language, also depends on these differences. For example, in some cultures, making eye contact shows respect, while in others, it might be seen as rude. For some neurodivergent people, like those on the autism spectrum, eye contact can feel very uncomfortable. Additionally, power and privilege shape how the same sentence can be interpreted when said by different people. For example, using being direct with a superior is often valued as good leadership skill and seen as assertive if you have more power and privilege, e.g., if you're white or a man. However, it can be seen as angry, aggressive, or difficult if you have less power and privilege, if you're ethnically diverse, more junior, or a woman. Same language, same thing. It's interpreted differently. So what's the one thing we've learned from today's challenge? What might we do differently from now on? And here's some actions that we can have a look at. So know your communication style and your preferences. Are you a direct or indirect speaker receiver? What makes communication easier for you and what makes it challenging? Remember that there's no right or wrong answer to these questions. The key is being aware of our own styles to communicate with others better. What's important is we learn to identify others' communication styles. So in a team, you'll have a range of people with different styles and avoid labeling. Do you know the communication styles that you have more problems communicating with? A third option or action you can take is be flexible and adapt to your style. Communication works best when both the sender and the receivers adjust their style based on who they're communicating with and what the situation needs. Consider how power and privilege can influence the conversation. Do you feel comfortable being yourself in the conversation? What about the other people in the conversation? So congratulations, we've reached the end of day 3. And again, there'll be a bonus content, so you can go more into that. It's quite a bit for this one. And then there's also additional resources, which again goes even deeper if you want to run a workshop training, books and everything like that on that. So on to day 4, the allyship gap. The difference between being an ally and being an active ally. Have you heard of the allyship gap? So an active ally is someone who is committed to taking consistent, meaningful action to support and advocate for individuals who are treated differently, often excluded, or in a minority. This involves understanding the challenges they face and creating a safe, inclusive workplace or community for everyone. We can all be active allies to someone else. So have a think about this. Do you see yourself as an active ally? Yes, always. Yes, sometimes. Not really. Not sure. Okay. So have you ever done any of these things to support your ethnically diverse and minoritized colleagues? Tick all that apply. I try to understand more about their experiences, challenges, and the barriers they face. I reflect on my own biases. I offer support to a colleague who is suffering or struggling. I help ensure their voice was heard, e.g. in a meeting. I sponsor, mentor, or advocate for a colleague. I spoke up when someone experienced a microaggression. I took action when a colleague was treated unfairly. So these are some typical actions that active allies can take. And as you can see, these often are to support someone's ethnically diverse or women or someone who's disabled or someone who's just different. Okay. So how many of these boxes did you tick? So let's watch a video which will explain a bit more about allies and active allies. Thank you.
You may have heard of allyship, but research shows that most of us don't really understand what allyship is. So let's start with the definition. Allyship is an active and consistent effort to use your privilege and power to support and advocate for people with less privilege. Let's unpack that. Our society is set up in ways that prioritizes some groups over others. For example, a restaurant might be easy to navigate for a person without a disability, but much harder for someone who uses a wheelchair. These patterns show up in our workplaces too. Studies show that leaders are more likely to mentor people who remind them of themselves. And since most leaders are white men, that means it's often easier for white men to find mentors.
Allyship involves understanding inequities like these and taking concrete steps to help level the playing field. This is a key point. To show up as allies, we have to take action. Sometimes taking action feels tricky or even uncomfortable, but not acting can be more harmful than we realize. It can send a signal that we're not aware of the injustices around us, or that we think they're okay, or even that we don't care. So if you're not sure what to do, ask yourself, is there an action I can take that is responsible, even if it's not perfect? If so, do that. Allyship isn't about getting any one action perfectly right. It's about acting consistently in ways that add up over time. This is another key point. Allyship is consistent. We might be moved to practice allyship toward a specific group when injustice is in the news, but to really make a difference, we need to commit to pushing for change over the long term. Now, let's look at the last piece of the definition. Allyship is about supporting and advocating for people with less privilege. That might mean speaking up when you see inequity, like pointing out that the women on your team are often interrupted in meetings. It could also mean working proactively to make things fairer. For example, you could research best practices for reducing bias in hiring and share what you learn with your team. As you're practicing allyship, it's important to stay focused on the people you're supporting and the impact you want to have.
Staying focused on impact isn't always easy. We sometimes end up focusing too much on how our actions make us look or feel. When this happens, we can slip into what's called a savior mentality. We might start pushing for solutions that sound right to us instead of listening to people with less privilege and following their lead. We can also end up practicing performative allyship, which means we're acting based on how we want to be perceived. For example, we might post on social media about the importance of supporting people of color, but not speak up when we hear racist comments in our daily lives. On the other hand, some of the most powerful allyship actions are the ones almost no one sees, like privately recommending a colleague with a traditionally marginalized identity for a promotion. Allyship isn't always easy or straightforward, and you won't get it right all the time, but it's so important that you continue to try because allyship really matters. By showing up as an ally, you can help people with traditionally marginalized identities feel included at work. Research also shows that allyship can have positive ripple effects. When employees see their colleagues acting as allies, they're more likely to step up too. This means that by practicing allyship, you can motivate others and shift your company's culture in a way that promotes equity. And when workplaces are more equitable, employees of all identities are happier and more committed to their jobs.
And as mentioned, all these videos are included in the pack, so you can utilize them for your colleagues, etc. Okay, so we're starting to realize that simply saying I'm an ally is not enough. Sometimes we believe we are being good allies just because we don't say or do anything harmful. But when we stay silent or don't get involved, we are just being bystanders, or as some say, complicit. And even without meaning to, our silence can allow harmful behavior to continue. The people being hurt are often in the minority, and may not have the power or support to stop the harm on their own or feel safe to do so. That's why they need others to step in. Stepping in is what really turns an ally into an active ally. Active allies support people, help to keep them safe, and create the respectful and welcoming environment where everyone feels they belong. And that's the key thing. Do you feel like you belong in your organization, your team, your department, your community? So what is the allyship perception gap in race inequality? So we've carried out some research, and ethnically diverse employees think there are fewer actively supportive allies within the organization when we ask the same question to white colleagues and leaders. Do you think you're an ally? So if we just show a quick chart. So when we ask, 80% of white colleagues think they are allies for ethnically diverse colleagues. And when we asked ethnically diverse colleagues, only 50% thought there were active allies. There's a gap there. These stats suggest that many people only tend to speak up when they know they're being seen, but hold back when they think no one's paying attention. So there's some more stats here, which I won't go through now, but again, it's just some stats and data to show the difference of when having active allies, makes people take less likely to be sick, more productivity when there's active allies around them. So productivity can change dramatically just like that. That's the power of allyship. We can all be someone's active ally. Active allyship is fundamental not only to tackle race inequality, but other injustice caused by discrimination in society. For example, men can be active allies to women in the fight for gender equality. Neurotypical and non-disabled people can be active allies for neurodivergent people and people with a disability in the strive for a more accessible and non-discriminatory world. Heterosexual and cisgender people can be active allies to the LGBTQIA plus community, challenging homophobia and transphobia. We can all be an active ally. Being an ally means taking into account intersectionality and recognize that many people are affected by more than one form of inequality. True allyship means showing up, embracing and acknowledging people, who people are as a whole and as an individual. So active allyship, some do's and don'ts. So do focus on the people you want to support and the impact you want to have. Don't focus on how your actions will make you look. Be aware that each person's experiences, needs, and expectations may be different. Don't just be a one-time ally or only when others are looking. Do act consistently by speaking up when you notice people are being treated unfairly. Don't act by doing what you think is good for those you want to support without listening to their needs first. Allyship is not about supporting others. So it's not just about supporting others. It's also a powerful way to grow personally, professionally, and socially. Active allyship can bring personal growth. It broadens our perspective. It deepens our understanding of diverse experiences, challenges, biases, and it nurtures empathy. Active allyship helps our professional development. It strengthens our leadership and collaborative and communication skills. By setting an example, we gain trust and respect from colleagues and meaningful connection. It helps us build genuine relationships, fostering belonging, trust, and mutual support in the workplace. Being an active ally can make your workplace better, but it can also make you a better you. So what's the one thing we learned from today's challenge? What might you do differently from now on? And here's some actions we can take. So allyship is a journey that starts with little consistent actions, not one-offs. For example, you can try to expand your social media circle. And to be fair, I've learned tons from other people, other groups, other communities by doing that. Stay open to feedback, even if it's uncomfortable. Speak up when ethnically diverse colleagues are being overlooked, put down, or treated unfairly, as well as in the minoritized groups. And don't be afraid of getting it wrong. People appreciate and respect you for trying, even if you made a mistake. It's that silence is the danger. Read, watch, or listen to content by people from other backgrounds. For example, if you like reading, read ethnically diverse authors that see the world through their eyes. A good example is Donald Trump's made something about autism yesterday, but if you listen to the community talking about it, it makes us understand more about autism, etc., like that. What we've also got is additional resources where there's some books that the community have recommended, and you can add to the list yourself. So some books you've read, and again, there's other things like podcasts, movie series that the community say these are good things for us to understand about active allyship. Yep. And again, congratulations. So we've come to the end of day 4, and as per normal, there's going to be bonus content, and then there's going to be additional resources. You can do a deeper dive. So we come to the end of the day 4 and day 5. So we've learned, and we're all about action. So this is about making a big promise. So it's about being transparent and accountable. The way the big promise was built, or I'll just give some stats first, actually. So in a recent poll, we asked people, have they ever left an organization because they felt like they didn't belong truly to that organization? Have you left an organization because of that? 83% have left because they feel they didn't belong in that organization. 15% told us no, but they considered it. So that only leaves 2% said they always felt they belonged in an organization. So think about the bystander effect, the communication styles, the active allyship or lack of active allyship. So feeling we don't belong can make us question who we are and our purpose in life. Over time, this can have harmful effects on our mental health and well-being. And we need to be in organizations where we feel we can be our true selves. So this is all about where we can make our big promise. It takes 2 minutes. So there's a magnificent 7 promises created by the community, depending who you are in an organization. So there's a 7 for if you're ExCo C-suite board member, there's senior leaders promises, there's allies promise, and ethnically diverse colleagues. And this is how it works. So you can print it off yourself, or you can go onto our website to do it. So you go onto the tool and you just put your details in there. And then you tick the box. What are you? Are you an ally, ethnic diverse, senior leaders? And in this case, the person ticked. You always say tick 1 promise, and this person ticked 3 promises. Then you press a magic button, and then you get what postcard start. It produces your promises there. So you can see the 3 promises on there. So I, Donna Robertson, promise to be nice to Javi. No, it doesn't say that. But anyway, we'll move on for that. And then what you can do is you can put your image in there. And as you can see, you can see your photo there, and then you can post it on social media or on the workplace canteen. People use it in lots of ways. And one organization, Northamptonshire Carers, had hundreds of staff promises on their entry when they go there, so people can see this is what they're committed to. Chief exec down to the so I shouldn't say down to, but the receptionist included as well. Okay, thank you. I just want to say there's a few more things we go to, but because this has been built, co-created with the community. So Eleanor, who's been kind of leading this, and most probably on version 85 by now, I think. So I think see some in the room here contribute to it. So just big one of knowledge and thank you for those that have contributed to this and kept us honest and true and fair. And hopefully you feel, yeah, this is I'm going to say it's wonderful, but as it's because of the feedback from these people and the work Eleanor's done. Next slide, please. So just want to share in the chat your thoughts about how the 5-day challenge you think can make an impact, what's good about it, how it can make an impact, so we can just share this. And we'll pull this together and share it with yourselves so you could use it in your organizations to encourage colleagues, D&I leads, senior leaders. We should be doing this. So I'll just give you about 30 seconds. Don't worry about typos, spellings, that will tidy it all up and we'll keep it anonymous. But share your thoughts on how the 5-day challenge can make an impact. We'll then share how you'll get access to this in the near future. And then also we'll be revealing the theme for Race Equality Week 2026. Now the theme is coming up, so thank you for asking that question. Great for team building. Yes, the videos are powerful. Absolutely. Bite size is great. Bring staff together for very different conversations. Yeah, bite size is good for busy people. Can I just say you can read us on the bus, on the tube, when you're queuing in Greg's for your sandwich. All this can be done like that. Yeah. And just say some organizations share it with their staff. Some at 9 o'clock meetings they go through it. Sometimes they turn it into a whole lunch and learn. Sometimes the organizations spend a whole day on each of these challenges. Okay, so thank you for that. Next slide, please. So how to access the 5-day challenge. Thank you. Excuse me, for those that attend today, what we're going to do soon is share you the how to do it right guide. So it's a guide about how to run the 5-day challenge. So when and how does it become available? So that's it. And then members, for those that didn't attend, members can access it in the membership hub. Non-members will get access in January 2026. So it's a nice little way to encourage people to become members. But as you spend your time here today, we will enable you to access it. Okay. So I think next week you'll be able to access it. Okay, we'd just like to do a quick closing poll of your thoughts about it. And then, as I said, we'll be announcing the theme for Race Equality Week. So it'd be really helpful for us to understand what's worked in today's event and what's of interest. With 9 questions, some are single options, some can be multi-choice, okay? Or you can multi-tick through. So thank you for going through all of today's interactivities. And it'd be, as we say, it's always important that we understand what makes a difference, what works, and how we can make things better. So first question, would you recommend today's event or session to others? 96% saying yes, 3% saying not sure, and 1% saying no. So the not sures and no's, we'd love to know what's missing that would make you or encourage you to recommend today's event to others. Question 2. Did you learn anything new today? So 94% saying yes, and that's fantastic, and that's what it's all about, because you've given up your time, you've contributed, you've interacted with others here. If you're not learning anything new, in one sense, there's no point. Importantly, or just as importantly, did you learn and hear things you wouldn't normally have access to? As we say, Race Quality Matters is all about filling the gap. So, a wonderful 76% saying yes, it's stuff you wouldn't normally have access to. Only 10% say no, it wasn't. Question 4, did you learn and hear anything that you will use? We're all about action and making an impact. So 91% of you today are saying yes, what you learnt and heard you will use, and then a further 9%, so the remainder are saying if you had authority. No one's saying there's nothing they'd learned or heard today that they will use. And this goes down to the power of the community helping us or co-creating the 5-day challenge, so we make sure it is practical and implementable. Question 5, do you think the 5-day challenge will help colleagues better understand some of the key issues related to race inequality? We said earlier about people not understanding the impact and the consequences. So 96% of you are saying yes, it would help colleagues a better understanding. No one's saying it won't. Question 6, in comparison to other diversity and inclusion initiatives, how effective would you rate the 5-day challenge in tackling race inequality? So more effective and significantly more effective is 81%. So 8 in 10 here thinks the same. 18% thinks it was more effective or significantly more effective. 18% the same, 1% saying less effective, and we'd love to hear why it was less effective to see if we can make a tweak for you for the future. But again, 81% think it's more significantly more effective, and this is again going back to the power of co-creation. So please do utilize this assets, because it's going to make a difference for your people. Question 7, in your opinion, which of this year's themes will make an impact? So 66% say stereotyping, when I think initially it was about 30% say that organizations are focusing on it. Initially, communication styles and misunderstandings, 43% of you said your organizations do look at that. But after today's session, 70% of you thinks it will make an impact. On the Bystander Effect, initially it was 34% of you saying your organization focus on it, and our fantastic 83%. That goldfish video, really resonates with me too, plus all the other content in there. And the allyship gap, 37% of you were say your organization focused on it, but following today's session, 75% will do that. So that's absolutely brilliant. So thank you for that. And a final question: do you think your organization will run the 5-day challenge in 2026? So 72% saying yes. No one's saying no, 28% say not sure, so maybe you're not decision makers, which we appreciate. And one final question, sorry. Do you think the 5-day challenge will help tackle race inequality in your organization? 75% saying yes, 23% saying not sure, and obviously, I guess might need to wait to see in action, or there could be barriers in your organization. But 75% say yes, it will help tackle race inequality in your organization. Remember, 1,520 organizations took part in Race Equality Week this year. So please, please, please do use it, encourage it, share it, get others to do it. So thank you again for sharing your thoughts and experiences from today. Okay, next slide, please. So what we're thinking about doing, so this is like putting it all together for you. But what we're thinking about doing, you can run it yourselves and all that stuff. What we're exploring is whether we should host 5 days of running the workshop. So when I did day 1, so we spend the 5 or so minutes with the video and everything, but then we'll have another 20 or so minutes where people can discuss amongst themselves, a few breakout groups in there, so quite interactive. So yeah, it's something that Race Equality Matters could run, that you and your colleagues can come along to. And we just want to ask a couple of questions on that. So there's a quick poll with 2 questions. So it'll be a daily thing. So having experienced the 5-day challenge today, the question is, do you think it would be good for your colleagues to attend a daily theme 5-day challenge event, like a live experience, which you did today, but daily, run by Race Equality Matters during Race Equality Week? So 73% of you saying yes, only 6% say no, and then 20% say not sure. And it'd be good to understand what will make you or encourage your organization to do it, or maybe you're not decision makers. So thank you for sharing that. So we'll say if anyone wants any questions after, we're happy to stay behind for 10 minutes if people want more questions or find out more information. So Race Equality Week themes. So just to remind you the story in the past. So the first ever Race Equality Week was as we came out of COVID, and the theme was, let's not go back to normal. Then we had action, not just words. Then we had, it has to be everyone's business. Then we had listen, act, change. And then the year just gone, every action counts. So drum roll, please. So if you've got your desks or your drums, or I see some people got their drums in the background. They were ready for this moment. Drum roll, please. And this year's theme, thank you all for contributing, is change needs all of us. Okay, change needs all of us. It goes back to that. It's everyone's business. And can I just say, it sounds very simple. It took us 5 months to get to something that everyone was comfortable with. So thank you for that. So as Helen Keller said, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. She's a remarkable person, if you could know. So change needs all of us. Okay, just to let you know about some upcoming events. So we've got Tea Break live events for organizations that can't run a tea break or would like for us to do it. It's about microaggressions. So we're going to talk about microaggressions. So that's available. But we've just found out today it's a sellout, that one. So that one's gone. There's no more spaces. But what we're going to do is ask you, would it be of interest to send your staff along to one that we could run for that? There's something called It's Not Micro 5. So again, for organizations, we've got space for 5 organizations where you can send anywhere between 10 and 200 staff, where we'll run an It's Not Micro session that you'll be sharing with others. Obviously, it's more affordable than if we came in exclusively for your organization. It's an option. Again, something for these are all for Black History Month to help organizations that might need ideas. And I'm going to say most probably all far more affordable, sometimes get other external consultants in. And then we've got on Race Network Leads and Future Leads event in November. So that's where we're going to do a bit of a review for everyone to share how Black History Month was. I think quite important to debrief, and we know it's a very difficult. Come the end, people are very exhausted, and etc. And then also talking about other important subject matters that you're interested in. So what we just do a quick poll whether we need to do another tea break week, because the first one's being a tea break session in Black History Month for you. So with the live tea break event that Race Equality Matters was going to run, as it's been a sellout, we just need to know, would there be interest for another one? So if we ran another tea break live event during Black History Month, would your organization buy tickets? So 17% saying yes, 54% saying not sure, and then 29% saying no. And again, the not sure might be because you're not decision makers. So only 29% saying no. Question 2, would you be interested in buying an individual personal ticket? So 43% saying yes, only 12% saying no, and then again a further 45% saying not sure. So thank you for that. So we'll review this and get some further feedback to see whether we put on another event for you. Again, places will be limited, so you or your organizations will need to book quick once it comes live, but you'll be the first to know. So thank you for sharing. What I'd also like to do, if anyone is a willing, come with to just also got some questions after this. Just basically do sort of like maybe 30-second sound bites. Your thoughts about why people should do the 5-day challenge. We'd love to hear from that because again, you are the community. You all have a role to play. You're active allies. We need to get this voice out there because the results of today's thing was really powerful. But we need to make sure others do it. The more that do it, it will change the world. Okay. So thank you all for that. So I'll just give another sort of 10 seconds for this. And can I just say, if you, I can see some people there. All those that got involved in helping do it, in the room, give yourself a pat on the back or whatever. We can see some of you there, and obviously lots of you couldn't make it. But really, I love it. So very proud of it. But we couldn't do this without all your input. So thank you all so much for that. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so as I said, just going back to we need to say big thank you to our funding partners that help enable us to do what we do. Again, we can't keep doing, but obviously always doors are open if more of you can help us. We really do need that. It'd be heartbreaking if we can't keep going. I remember change needs all of us. There'll be more information coming back Race Equality Week, more information how to access the 5-day challenge that we'll be doing. And please do let us know on info at if you've got any good ideas for us or things, because I could see in the chat there were some good thoughts and everything like that. So thank you all so much for that. Said you will get a recording of today's video most probably next week if you can just bear with us on that. So thank you very much for that. Have a good afternoon. Look after yourselves. Take care of yourselves.